So Chris, are we good to go? Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Relja Bobic. I'm the program director of Serbian Games Association, which is hosting, of course, today's kickoff of the Playing Narratives Ideas to Games program. So we are really happy to be doing a second cycle of this really interesting program that is focused on emerging young creatives who are interested in entering the video games industry. And as you all probably know, who checked out the announcement for tonight's program, it is basically an 8 months long program that puts a group of 25 to 35 creatives this year, not just from Serbia, but also from Bosnia and Hercegovina, North Macedonia, Romania, Slovenia, and Serbia through a process of game development with lots of project-based learning and collaboration with industry experts. First of all, a bit of background information. Playing Narratives is an initiative of the Goethe Institute in Belgrade, Institut Français in Belgrade, and the SGA. And it is realized with the support of the French-German Cultural Fund, but also different partners from Serbia, Germany, and France. First of all, some of the most distinguished companies from the Serbian gaming ecosystem, Trilateral as part of Epic Games, which is the general sponsor of the program this year, then Ubisoft Belgrade, and also Webelinx Games from Niš. So these are actually the companies and organizations realizing the program in Serbia. And then from Germany, we have the special guests for tonight's program, the Amaze Festival or platform coming from Berlin. And then from France, sometime in the next months, we also have participation from collaborators of Plain Image audio-visual hub from Lille in the north of France. So this would be a bit of the background information. Tonight we are going to kick it off with a couple of really, or to be more specific, 3 really interesting lectures coming from Amaze, who are actually having their 11th, if I'm not wrong, edition of the festival coming up in just about 1 month or a bit less. And before we move on to that, I would like to invite Sunčica Šido from Belgrade's Goethe Institute to just say a few words from the role of Goethe Institute as one of the main partners and initiators of Playing Narratives. So Sunčica, please.
Thank you, Relja. Hello to everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to our project for the second cycle, because we developed this project in the previous year, and we had this wonderful group of young creatives who went through the whole program. This year, we added 2 additional components of the program. As Relja already said, it's a regional one. So we have also participants from other countries. And also we are very lucky to have had the opportunity to add this gender component to the project. So we are actually very happy to have female participants in such a great amount this year. And it's also important to stress out that we will this year work also on important issues for the Balkan region. So we actually put pollution as one of the main issues that the narratives of the games will be dedicated to. I'm also very happy to meet the German partners now from Amaze, and I cannot wait to also hear their lectures, so to say, or their also welcome speeches to this kickoff. Thank you.
Apologies. Thanks a lot, Sunčica, and it has also been a really big pleasure to collaborate now already for the last 2 years. In one of the next events, we are also going to hear from our friends and partners from the French Institute in Belgrade. And as Sunčica mentioned, we received really a big number of applications. 135 people from the region applied to participate, and we were really happy to see that almost 60% of the applications were coming from girls, and this is really something that's encouraging, that we want to encourage through this project, but also some of the other SGA activities. And maybe a good point to mention that the Serbian game dev community is one of the let's say European leaders when it comes to gender balance, with around 30% of employees in the industry being female. Also at this point, I would like to invite Adam Kovac in the name of Trilateral, that is also now part of Epic Games, that is supporting the project for the 2nd year in a row through their Unreal Engine brand. And there has been a lot going on with Unreal Engine lately, especially with the release of the new Unreal Engine 5. And it is really a kind of pleasure and to be in Serbia and to see so much, advanced technological activity happening in companies here and in the community. So, Adam, thanks for being with us today.
Yes, it's really, really nice to see all the participants here, and thank you, Relja, and the team for organizing, and the partners for supporting this as well. I might do like really quick intro what I do and what we do as part of the ecosystem, but I think we'll have plenty of chances in May once all of you come to Science and Technology Park in Novi Sad to get to know each other and talk a bit more. I'm part of solutions team at Trilateral, which means that we're working mostly on with partners and linking them to our production and R&D teams. But what gets me excited is mostly the community development that we're trying basically to establish and to bring the links from Unreal Engine to, let's say, the local and the regional ecosystem. So painting a picture of what we do at Trilateral and beyond, well, we create now, we used to create digital humans for AAA game developers, but we're now also part of a much bigger product that enables indie studios and anyone wanting to create high fidelity digital humans to create them in minutes. So we might have a round of discussions in May around the MetaHuman creator and how you can build your own characters easily. This is a part of the ecosystem that's Unreal Engine, which enables, well, the goal is, as Relja mentioned, is easy content creation in 3D. And you guys are, well, we hope that you're taking advantage of all the knowledge and the peer exchanges as you're entering this creator ecosystem with us. There's a remarkable year in front of you. There's a lot of opportunities for learning and connections. And for us, and me personally, playing narratives, it was one of the highlights of the projects from the community last year. So we are really excited to see it happening this year as well. Science and Technology Park in May, you'll see that we're just starting to equip it. It's a new building. We'll have education facilities there as well. And I'm really excited to say that as you're perfectly positioned, that as you kind of finish playing narratives, if you want to build on top of your concepts, we'll be there to support you build prototypes and beyond that. I won't hog any more of the time. I'm just really excited to have you all here, and I hope that you take advantage and get creative during these next months. Thank you all.
Thanks, Adam, and thanks a lot, of course, for the continuing support. Of course, the participants who will be in Novi Sad will hopefully also have a chance to maybe visit your studio and of course meet some of your colleagues and talk to them about some of the cutting edge technologies that are obviously also being developed in Serbia. Last but not least, I'm not sure if Dusan Jovanovic is with us from Ubisoft Studio in Belgrade. If
yes, I am.
Okay, great. Dusan, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great that you are joining us, and Ubisoft as well is another company that's for the second time in a row kind of recognizing some value in this program. So please share a couple of thoughts from your end on the participation in the program, and we are looking forward also to welcome the lecturers coming from your studio over the next months and to introduce them to the participants.
Thank you, Relja. All of us at Ubisoft Belgrade Studio are happy to be part of this program since the first steps last year. Also, I wish to thank the Goethe Institute, French Institute, that with the cooperation of Serbian Gaming Association started this initiative and this great mentorship program. Playing narratives is an excellent way of supporting young creatives in sharing their ideas and freeing their creative spirits. But our Belgrade team will support them all the way through these 8 months of mentorship, program participants through various lectures from our arts to production, giving them insights how the AAA game development works, but also we will try to share some of the practical knowledge and techniques that we use every day in our work that will help participants in their project, in their future careers. So I wish the good luck to all participants from myself as new studio production manager and all the Ubisoft Studio employees.
Dusan, thanks a lot. We are looking forward to also meeting many of your colleagues. I think we're going to have at least 7 people from your studio kind of getting involved over the next months. And especially when we do the Belgrade Playing Narratives Bootcamp later on in September. Just a few final words from my end. So we are actually in the past days did more than 40, I think, interviews with the shortlisted candidates, and tomorrow basically we will know about the final constitution of the group. We are going to have an initial workshop in 2 weeks' time focused on narrative design, which will be realized online, and then we are looking forward to the program at the Science Technology Park in Novi Sad between 12th and 15th of May. So this will be like a mini festival for a closed circuit of future game developers. And at this point, I would like to focus on our main guests for tonight. So first of all, with us is Thorsten Weinmann from Berlin, the founder and artistic director of A-Maze. And in general, tonight's kind of focus is the so-called maybe art house side of gaming. Of course, the Serbian Games Association is in many of its activities focused on the industry aspect, but Playing Narratives is definitely the program where the creative side of gaming is completely kind of in focus. So Thorsten, first of all, thanks a lot for joining in as a partner for this year. And we hope that maybe next year we will present some of the resulting projects at the next edition of your festival. There are things to discuss in the future about that. And also you are bringing tonight for us 2 of the authors that were kind of featured or related to your platform. So maybe I would pass the mic to you and let you introduce A-Maze and the artists that you've invited for tonight. So in the next in the next hour or 2, as long as it takes, we are going to have 3 interesting lectures from the A-Maze side of the gaming world.
Thank you very much, Raya. Thank you for having us. I'm Thorsten Weinmann. I'm the festival director or artistic director of Amaze. Yeah, we have almost 2 hours, and I brought two wonderful guests with me. Before I'm gonna start over and talk a little bit about Amaze and what we are doing and how we started and why now art house and not indie games and all this kind of stuff. I'd like to introduce Annika Ma. She is a wonderful game developer, and I met her by the Humble New Talent Award. She was nominated in 2020, I think, I remember. And she was working on a game with her team, Kraken Academy, and the studio is Happy Broccoli Games. It's based in Berlin, and she will talk about the ups and downs of writing a time loop adventure. And I'm really looking forward to that. So Annika, after I did my presentation, you just take over and maybe introduce yourself much better than I did. She was the nominee of the Humble New Talent Award at the Amaze Festival in 2020. And also she won several awards. One was just one. just one. Okay, great. But it's a big one. It's from the German Games Award, right? For was it for best indie game or what was it exactly?
Best game design.
Wow, perfect. So welcome to have you here. I'm super happy that we can work together today. And then we have Anselm Püter. He is founder of the studio Seufz, which is based in the south of Germany. And yeah, they were winner of the 2019 Long Feature Award with the game The Longing. And also is working on some kind of hit games like Murder and Lucky Town. And he's going to talk after Annika about time as a game mechanic. And so before I talk too much, my welcome, I mean, this is more like a welcome and introduction into Amaze, what I do now, and also how COVID actually affect Amaze and how we changed and shifted something. And I'm gonna share now the screen with you with a little presentation. I hope you all see that.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Amaze, the art house label for games and playful media. I mean, we started in 2008, and as you know, in 2008, there were, of course, the IGF, and there was Indicate and a bunch of other festivals around in the world, but nothing was in Berlin, nothing was in Germany. And as I know, there was nothing about indie games in Europe. So we were thinking, hey, we should do something because all these industry events are cool, of course, they're necessary, but we should have something more arty, something what as well shows some experimentations, something what goes more into the art than selling products. And then we started to make Amaze. So the first bigger festival we did, it was 2012. It was connected with the Games Week Berlin. And it was basically for 50 people. We started, it was in a nice small venue. We had a nice exhibition. We had 11 games showcase, we had music and conference and everything. And yeah, this was basically the start, and it was called Indie Connect. And it was for 2 years, it was called Indie Connect, because of course, at this time, 2012, indie was something like, it was picking up, you know, and that was something what was the interest in a lot of people to see these cool games. We showed Hotline Miami, we showed a Beat Buddy. The game was winning in 2012 was Proteus, wonderful walking simulator. And yeah, so I mean, this is something what just started though in 2012, all this development, and we changed and adapted for all the things what was happening. I mean, when we then started calling it not anymore Indie Connect, then Amaze Berlin, because we are based in Berlin. And then of course, I mean, games, but we don't want to mention that it's indie games. It's not particular art house games. It's about games. And then suddenly there were AR experiences and VR experiences as well there. There were the glasses were coming in 12. And we were thinking, yeah, but we are not a VR festival. Maybe we are a playful media festival. So it was why we get all these kind of names now in this tagline. So we started in 2013. We changed to a new location. Was It was a little bit, everybody was thinking like, wow, this is the Burning Man of video games. So, because of course, I mean, you see the flamethrowers and everything. And it was really a nice garden. It was a big beer garden. It was a nice gallery. We had a nice club. And it was then from their time, it was just growing and growing and growing. So we had a swimming pool and everything. It was just fantastic. People from all over the world were coming, showing their games. We had wonderful nominees. And it was more time a community was building, you know, a community was building over the time. And at the end, we had in 2019, when we closed basically because of COVID, we had about 1,500 people from all over the world coming to Berlin to the Amaze Festival. It was a real success. You know, we started in 2012 with 50 people, and it was really growing. Also, the quality of games and the selection was kind of growing. And we were super happy to actually had the chance to be part of this development, of this movement. Yeah, so it's a conference. Yeah, we have talks. There's Robert Young, for example. This is how it looks like when it's full in 2019. We had some kind of roundtables. In 2012, I also started to make a festival in Johannesburg. It was called Amaze Johannesburg. And we continued doing that until 2017. So we had a strong connection to Africa, to the African continent, and as well to South Africa. So that's why here's a group from Enter Africa, because we work with Goethe Institute regularly together. And it was very, very good to bring people from other continents to the festival and have a nice exchange, cultural exchange, but also as well technical exchange and creative exchange. This is how the exhibition was looking in 2019. So of course, I mean, Amaze is still a little bit like a low budget festival. It's not like that we have super cool props and everything is perfect. So, but this is also the style, you know, we don't want to be perfect. This is not what we want. We want to give space. It's positive chaos, basically, what is happening. We make a frame, this is wonderful, and then everything else is kind of happening. We have a wonderful team, and they're very, very, yeah, they can very good improvise, and it looks very, very good in the end. But I'm super happy about this kind of development, because I mean, it has not to be neat, you know, it has to be just lovely, authentic, and then people have a home, you know, and it's very important to be inclusive and everything, and give space for a lot of people who probably have no space in the big industry at all this kind of huge events around the world. It's nice to have this kind of community space. Also, besides all these festivals, we're doing exhibitions like this is the Digital Garden exhibition, what we did in Cape Town for the Playtopia festivals. We brought a lot of plants into an exhibition space, put screens everywhere, and it was very, very nice because it was very moist and everything. And we created a kind of a nice space with just garden and nature games. And this in front of you, it's an installation by Titouan Millet from France. It's the ghost pond. So there's some kind of stuff is generating and is moving around. It's very beautiful. Then this is Cassine. It's an installation what was winning in 2019. The award, I said, Playful Media. It's a theater piece which you play in VR with somebody else on the other side. So it's very important that we bring as well other aspects of potential gaming into the games world, because I like to have a festival where we have interdisciplinary approaches. So it's very, very important. And this is also what you have with playing narrative. You're also looking in this kind of things. And I think this is fantastic to bring theater, music, and all other kind of art forms, also the art worlds, to bring it into the gaming world. And music is, of course, very important. In the evening, we have to have nice parties. And so stage diving is a big thing. It's in our festival. So, and then suddenly hit COVID, bomb. And then we had to think about what we should do. So we were creating worlds in VR chat because it was a nice space. In VR chat, we could build wonderful architectures and bring art in there and objects, and also meet our friends. And also we pushed a lot into VR at this time and tried new things out. You're wondering why flamingos? Because flamingo is our symbol. It just was growing after the years. Now everybody's talking about flamingos and the maze and also watermelons. So all this kind of stuff is developing as well through the community. then of course, I mean, we need to have a space for exhibition. So we created in Unity, not in Unreal, we created in Unity, we created this wonderful Amaze space. And it was 2020, because I mean, there were so many things going on. What should we do? Everything was planned for a physical event. And then after in almost 2 months only, we created this space. We had a full exhibition with 40 different games in there, all the nominees and honorable mentions, and some other games from people who wanted to submit something. And you are a flamingo, and in the peak time, we had around 750 flamingos running around, playing the games and talking to each other. It was just fantastic. So in 2021, we also wanted to have that, but then we just overstretched it. We were thinking like, oh my God, we should do this and that and that. And we wanted to create a new space and much more features and blah, blah, blah. In the end, nothing worked out. So we had no space. So we had just streams. It was also okay, but it was not the same feeling, because I think what I've learned during making a festival in the digital world is, and also in the physical world, the digital festival can also work when you have really, really a nice place, when you have this kind of energy of people, when you know you are surrounded by different people, and then not just like in instances of whatever 50. You need to have a lot of people. You have to know that there are 700 people there, and you can all meet them, like in the physical space as well. So we've been also working for other festivals like the Club Transmediale Festival. They also used our space then. It looks completely different. Also a lot of shaders and audiovisual things happening in there. And then we also, because for me it's very important how to just come to the art house aspect. We are working with institutions together, with the Polish Institute, with the Goethe Institute, with the Institut Français, and something like that, an artist in residence program like the Brain. It's fantastic to bring people from different kind of fields together, give them a topic, put them together in a room for 2 weeks or a month, and then they create something. And nobody knows what's coming out, but at the end, there is something what really, really people love to see and what we can exhibit at festivals and other occasions. And this is something what we did. This was from last year. And it was really, really cool because we brought 8 women together. They created 3 groups. The 3 groups, each of the group has a dream, and in all we created a triptychon, which is one big dream, and which is now exhibited at Kulturmat in Sweden. So a lot of new things is happening, and it's also helpful for the games industry. So because I mean, all the people who are kind of being part of those things, they learn something, they experience something new, and they bring it into their whatever, their studio and create maybe something new or find new partners to work with. And the same was like with the Komische Oper and the Berliner Ensemble, big theaters. 2012, when we started, nobody was talking to us. Nobody wanted to have us because we are just game developers. We are just a game festival. I mean, gamers, well, come on, nobody left. It's not what we want. So we want to have intellectual people, you know, and it's high culture, very high nose. And then last year we did a game jam with them, and it was very successful. We brought people together, theater people with game developers, and then they created games in 48 hours. This is very helpful to just grow the community and also grow interest in art and games, and as well what is developed in the indie game scene. Then for example, like that, years ago, nobody would thought about that. Now we're working with museums together. We do an AR hackathon with the biggest museums in Germany, and this is fantastic. You know, I mean, it's something what, yeah, it makes me proud. It makes me proud of the people who built this community, but also the people are staying on it and really, really think that this is a new thing. This is something what we want to develop, and we want to develop it further. And then in the future, maybe game developers can go to museums and say, hey, I need that object, I need that, I want to do some research, and it opens doors. And this is something what, in my mind, is art house, because you actually develop and research on what is there, you know, on reality. And yeah, so as Raya said already, the festival is going to be soon. It's going to be on the 13th to the 16th. It's going to be an online festival, and then we have 1-day on-site festival, and it's going to be on the 17th. If you have a chance to come, Rhea, I know you come. That's good. So we meet this first time. It's fantastic. And we have a new space, which is also fantastic. So this is the new space, and it's also open. In the end, I'm going to send some links into the chat, and then you can explore already what we have built. But this is not the finished version, because the finished version will just release them a few days before the festival. This is the awards, what you can win. So maybe for the next time, if you want to look for awards, and if you want to submit somewhere, submit for the Amaze Award when you think it fits. It's a very nice award. It's a hologram. We definitely want to have it. And there's also some prize money involved. The award show is on the 8th. It's on the 17th. It's also physical. Everything is going to get streamed. And yeah, just to see, there's some kind of the links where you can have access to everything. And that's me, Thorsten. If you want to contact me, if you have any questions, if you want to come to Berlin and want to know more about Amaze, then just let me know and write me. Thank you so much. So that's me. That's the and now we have to switch this off. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. No. So cool. Yes. And now we have Annika.
Hello. All right. Thanks so much, Thorsten. I'm very excited to go to Amaze as well. I'm going to show up for sure. Too bad that it wasn't online when we were actually, exhibiting there. That was kind of always my dream, but who knows, maybe with the game in the future. And yeah, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay, I hope you can only see the presentation and not also the Zoom portraits.
Yeah.
Does that work?
All good, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the ups and downs of writing a time loop adventure. This is basically a post-mortem of making Kraken Academy, which is a time loop adventure. It's pixel art, and I'm going to show you some more about this later. But first, I want to tell you the stuff I was doing before, and how I started making games. And so I used to be a fantasy illustrator, a freelancer. I made stuff for board games, pen and paper, stuff like The Dark Eye. That one on the right, for example, is for a mobile game, like a key art for it. And that was very fun and that was very cool, but I felt a bit unfulfilled only doing stuff for other people. So I felt this need of doing something on my own. And well, I've always loved games. And I happened to have a friend who was making a game in a small team. And that really inspired me, because before I haven't really thought about that you can create an entire game, on your own or with a very small team. Of course, I've, seen Undertale and this and that, and I knew that they existed, but I think it's different if you just see someone have a huge success, online versus actually meeting someone, because you think there's some, higher being and you wouldn't be able to do it. So that was very motivating for me. And I started making Kraken Academy at first on my own. And I started making it in Game Maker. And yeah, I taught myself how to program. I'm a very bad programmer, but it kind of worked. And I brought this prototype to Sweden, to this game dev community, this co-living house. And I showed it to 2 people who would become my team members. There they are. It's Johnny and Irene. Those 2 are the ones who are employed in the team full-time. Irene does marketing. Johnny does the programming, and we also have freelancers to do the sound, for example. All right. And yeah, and so the game, we put it on Steam, Switch, and Xbox. We got a Game Pass deal as well. We got published by Fellow Traveler, who are like notorious for publishing story-focused games. So we thought, you know, they're the perfect fits and we want to go with them, which was great. And this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. I'm going to tell you about what inspired me to make this game, the first prototype that we made and how we changed it and simplified it, the humor. So yeah, it's a comedy game. So obviously it lives off of its humor and just what we went through to create the story. And I can't see that last bit. Let me move the, yeah, okay. And our wins and fails of yeah, creating this title, because I mean, it's at least my first game. Johnny has made some small things before, but we've never made anything on this scale. So it was very, very daunting. Also, as you notice, I'm not a writer. I haven't, you know, studied writing, and this was the first time I had to write a story. So that was very, very daunting. And my inspirations for this game, the biggest one was Zelda Majora's Mask. So I've always wanted to create a game that is Clock Town, basically, but just as an entire game. I loved the routines there of the characters, and just, I don't know, it felt so special. All of these small extra things they put in that they didn't have to. Like, for example, on the second day, it's raining and Anju is walking around with her umbrella. And I thought that's just such a nice touch. And yeah, it's all these characters that really stay in your mind, like this angry music box man, you know, that's back in, I think, like where they do like the laundry area, whatever they call it, like the small ponds. And yeah, I just thought that was very cool, and I want to try and do that on a bigger scale. I love anime, and I love the weird, wacky, like 90s anime humor. So there's, for example, Ranma, where they have this big ensemble, and it's all about the characters, all about their interactions. You know, who do they like, who do they hate, what, you know, how do they change when certain people are around them. And I found that very fascinating. And I knew I wanted to do something like that as well, where maybe, you know, we went a bit over the top, because I mean, every single character that we have in the game, I have to draw, right? Because I also do the art. We're a very small team. And so that was quite tough. But I wanted to stick to that vision, because I knew if I, you know, branch off here and there, then it's going to be a game that no one likes, basically. So I really wanted to stick to that. All right, and this was the first prototype that, well, not the very first one, but the one that me and Johnny made together. And this was the first main quest line. It was a costume party, and it took us basically around 2 to 3 months to make this one, which was very, very short. And it was very tough to make. I think in playtime, it was almost an hour, I think. It was quite long. And in the beginning, we had these schedules, these calendars, because you know, it's a time loop game. So in 3 days, the world is going to end. And here we wanted to take basically 6 hours that we have at this party. And so people would move around depending on what hour it is. So let's say at 10 p.m., I don't know, the biker gang is going to come out of their gang room, and then you can actually talk to them. But then after 12, they're going to be gone again. So you have this time frame where you can do certain quests. And, you know, the vision for that was that it would be fun to see characters moving around at different times. But there were a lot of issues with that. And like I said, also, we were making this in a very, very short amount of time. And yeah, we almost killed ourselves getting that done. And yeah, that was basically, yeah, my first burnout that I had from making games. It wasn't that bad. It was only 2 weeks. So I've heard way worse from other people, but it wasn't nice. So yeah, don't worry so much about your deadlines. You know, you can tell your publisher, hey, it's, you know, it's going to take just 1 or 2 weeks longer. It's fine. It's not worth it, because then in the end, you need to recover for so much longer. Anyway, all right. So what we found making this prototype is that, yeah, it was way too complex. It just was not fun. When we gave this to people, they were so stressed because you saw the clock ticking on top. And they're like, oh God, what do I do? And then they don't know when they've done something wrong. They just know they can't interact with anything, and things were just over. And then, of course, in the end, you had to rewind time to try and redo it, and you had to do, you know, one perfect run through the game, which just was not fun at all and not what we wanted to make, because we wanted to have this chill place of Clocktown. Like I never felt stressed in Clocktown, even though, you know, the clock was ticking. So I thought, you know, how do we fix this? What is the essence of Clocktown? Because the thing that what we were making was a really bad Hitman level, and you know, that was not the idea at all. And so what we did was, in missions, we called them. So these main quest lines, like the party, they would be separate from the main game. And so you would have the time loop only in the overworld at the school, split into 3 days, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then split into day and night. So you can get to events, you know, for example, on Monday morning, I don't know, Broccoli Girl, that's a character in the game, as you've seen her before. She's gonna have a picnic, and during that time, you need to bring her the grill or something like that, simple like that. And you have these 6 hours to do that. So you don't have to be super stressed, like, oh God, it's just 1 more hour to give her the grill. It's fine, it's okay. And even if you don't get there to do that, it's just an extra side thing. It's like a side quest thing. And yeah, you don't have to be there for that time, which yeah, just made it so much better. And then people actually played the game, you know, how we intended. All right, and this is how I wrote, like how I organized the characters and the side quests and where everyone was, because obviously I needed to know, is Broccoli or Girl already somewhere on Tuesday? Because we also had the instance where a character was twice somewhere during the day, because, you know, we kind of forgot you've already used them maybe. And so I write down the lines here. So I keep in mind, okay, who is saying what, which quest is going to start, so we have nothing that overlaps. All right, let's talk a bit about humor. And yeah, I don't know if I'm, you know, like a naturally funny person, or I don't know, but the way that we wrote this game was that I took a lot of inspiration from, you know, just things around me, just my friends, all of the, you know, silly things someone might say, all of the silly things that might happen. And so I started just writing all of these things down. And I feel that, you know, by taking my friends and making them into characters, but into obviously super exaggerated, crazy versions of them, you know, it became something that's maybe a bit relatable to people as well. When they see them, like, oh, that's totally me, or oh, that's totally my friends, I don't know. And that I feel worked really well, at least for me. So I could have a mental image in my head while I was writing. You know, maybe the sprite didn't exist yet. So I'm like, okay, yeah, imagine just this person while I write them. All right. Yeah, I think it's really important not to force jokes. You don't have to be like, oh, every 5th line has to be funny. If, you know, this one scene is a bit more serious, that's fine. That's totally okay. I think people can feel it just, you know, all the time when you force something. So I think it's best if you don't. Yeah, obviously have a proofreader. We had Johnny's sister looking for everything, who's actually a native English speaker, because yeah, I'm not. I wrote everything in English, and then actually things got translated into German, not by me, by someone else who did a very, very good job, and I think made some things even funnier than I would make them if I translated them. So that was great. And yeah, and she would also make some suggestions for jokes, you know, whenever there was a passage, and she'd be like, oh, I think this bit can actually be funnier. What about this and that? And that was very helpful too, just get, you know, as many people in to look over things as possible. Yeah, at least 3 drafts. I like to rewrite stuff a lot. And the thing was that, especially in, you know, in the end, by the end of the game, that was quite difficult to do, because obviously you're strapped for time, the game has to be done. While in the beginning, you can take more time, go over it again and again and make it perfect. But that would be something I'm going to complain about, you know, later as well. Yeah, for Kraken Academy, I like to keep dialogue super, super short. So anything unnecessary, just cut it. So basically I would write 10 lines, and then in the end, 4 of them, like 3 or 4 would remain. I think especially with such a text-heavy game that we made, which is not a visual novel though, you're kind of testing people's patience, because obviously someone who likes visual novels, for them that's fine, but for someone who comes from the adventure game side, they don't have that patience. So we try to appeal to those people as well. We have some cutscenes where it's really important to get the perfect sound effects, or just get them. For example, this character here, the teacher, she's going to crawl out of the classroom later, and it was perfect to get her just crawling and hissing. So okay, she hisses and she just crawls out of the room. To get that perfect, I was fiddling around with that a lot. Obviously, that's super, super important and just very fun. I loved using visual humor in this a lot. So there was a lot of fires going off, and a lot of random things. And I think this fits in with Thorsten quite well. I like to describe this game as organized chaos, where a lot of chaotic things are happening, explosions, this and that, but in the end it makes sense, hopefully. And also, I like to end the joke quicker than I would have, which I think gives it this extra punch and just makes it funnier, because obviously explaining a joke is never funny. So better just cut that last sentence or cut the last half of it, or however. All right, the characters. Okay, so our characters, it was important for us that they make a strong impression. You see them and right away, you know who they are, you know whether or not you're gonna hate or love them. I did not want someone having a neutral reaction to one of the characters. So I was very happy when someone's like, oh, your sister, she's super annoying, I hate her. What does she do in the game? Or we have this one character who's this pretty boy who's very arrogant, and especially with him, people were very polarized, and which was exactly the intention. And like I said before, they're inspired by my friends or just random people I saw on the street. And I think Berlin is a great inspiration for that as well, because you have some characters there. It's absolutely fantastic. Just take the train around, Ringbahn, perfect. Just write some things down, game is done. And when I was making these characters for the club, so there are always 4 characters in one club, and I had to make sure that they have good banter. They work well together, you want to follow them. And, I can't have 4 extroverted characters in one group. It's going to be super annoying. And so before that, I always made sure in my head that they worked well together. And once that was done, then, they could go in the game. We have a lot of characters. Like I said before, there are 33 named characters. And I'm just going to show you here. Yeah, this is... Oh, come on. Oh, it takes a long time to load. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the list. And like I said, I had to, draw the portraits for each and every one of them. And I mean, the negative thing here of having so many characters is that you can't dive deep into every single one of them. So we had to concentrate just on a few. There we go. And we concentrated on these 3 basically. So there are 3 main quest lines, and we did them for the music club, art club, and the sports club. You have 4 clubs in the game. Sorry, I keep forgetting that. I need to explain the game actually. So you have the music club, art club, sports club, and drama club in the school, which with each time loop, you join a different one and you do the quest. And for the music club, I already talked about the costume party. You join a band, but then you actually have to get the band to play on stage. You have to convince every single one of them, and you have to help Berkeley Girl get over her ex, of course. In every story, I want some emotional payoff to each of the characters. Each of them has some sort of problem that you help them with. And I wanted each of these quests to feel very different, just thematically, not mechanically. Each of them, just have dialogue and adventure like puzzles. But for the first one, I want you to feel like, oh, yes, I'm joining this cool band. And in my penguin onesie like the costume that you go in there with. And for the art club, I wanted you to feel like, oh, this is like this detective mission. I have to find out who it was that vandalized Patiza, the dog, the dog's painting. We made some Ace Attorney references there as well. Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, for the sports club, I wanted it to feel like a spy mission. Like you're undercover, you're trying to infiltrate this evil company's office. Yeah, that was the vision I went on with, because obviously, you know, it can feel repetitive, like, oh, now it's the next club, but I wanted people to be excited, be like, oh, what's the next one going to be? Because each of these are so different and weird. Oh, what I love putting into this game were mysteries and hints to the overarching story. So I have these small things, like, for example, here, this is one of the characters' dorm rooms. So each character has their own dorm room. And here, you know, I put this conspiracy map on there with, in the middle is the janitor. There he's wearing sunglasses. And the cat in the right, which plays, you know, a big role in the story later. But you don't know until you actually played it through. And this character, he is a conspiracy theorist. So you think, oh, he's just crazy and has all this stuff up. No, it actually makes sense. And that was very fun to do. And yeah, we made an ARG. So we had Johnny's friend, Nathan Edison. He helped write this ARG. And he came up with some fantastic puzzles. And so we actually made a fake website, one for KrakenNet, for the blog of Kostadin, the conspiracy guy, and for this soda company called Mepsi. And, you know, in the game, Kostadin is like, oh, you should check out my blog on this website. And then it actually exists. I'm going to show it to you. I hope it loads here now. Here we go. And then we made fun things like this newspaper here. And yeah, there are a lot of blog posts, and they're very difficult puzzles. So yeah, Nathan did a really good job. I think on my own, I would not be able to do this. But of course, we had the Discord server so people could help each other. As a reward, they were getting a Broccoli Girl plushie, which was great. Like this one, for example, there was an audio file here that you had to look at the spectral view, and then a name would appear there and things like that. It's, yeah, very cool puzzles. And then I want to show the Mapsy website as well. So Johnny's sister made this one, Emma Levin is her name. And she did the proofreading as well. And she's very good at writing, just very weird, funny things. And yeah, here we go. Let's look at the Mapsy website. Once upon a time, there was a farmer who had a dream of running a small holding, bringing joy to those around him and selling natural products made the good, hard, old-fashioned way. So he found some land and he started making homegrown, artisanal, organic drinks. We bought that farm, bulldozed it, and started mining Mapsonite. So that's how it starts. And I think my favorite is this one here. We're like any good family, we communicate mainly by shouting through locked doors. And these weird stock images also, I love it. It's really good. I don't remember applying to work in Mapsy, but I keep waking up here. It's, yeah, really good. And yeah, I love checking out the analytics now and then and try to see, you know, how many people still go on this website, and some find it still. So that's really good to see. And yeah, and about all of these small secrets, well, not really secrets, but just cool Easter eggy things I put in, people found all of them. And to be honest with you, many times I thought, why am I putting all this work into it? No one's going to see this. But people found absolutely everything I put in. And I'm very happy about that. So I think in future games, we're going to do that even more. Like, for example, here, these two characters, they're going to end up as a couple. And in one throwaway line, she says, oh, did you know Libra and Aquarius make a perfect match? And then when you look at their profiles, you can see they actually Libra and Aquarius, which I thought was quite cute. All right, let's talk about what went wrong. Okay, thankfully, there are not too many things that went wrong. I love the game. I'm very proud of it. There are just, yeah, some things I wish we did a bit differently. So one, I was already complaining about the script. We just sent it in a bit too soon to the translators. I think we could have had just a couple more weeks because the translation was actually pretty quick. We had 45,000 words in the game, which isn't that much. But yeah, this meant we had massive pacing issues in the last quest. Things were just happening too quickly. And yeah, there was not enough time between the last two twists. And yeah, the draft for the drama class, it's a bit too long. Where I said I have these phases where I cut down like half of the dialogue, that didn't happen for that one. So that scene feels quite long. And if I had to do it again, I would cut at least half. I wish there were more side quests. We didn't really have time to make that many. People really loved them, which is, what I hoped would happen. But yeah, and unfortunately, it just wasn't enough time for that. The Chinese translation, unfortunately, was really bad. People were telling us that it reads just like machine translated, which is quite sad, especially when you have a narrative-driven game that is really, really important, and when it's humor as well. If the game is not funny, then the game is pointless. We had and also the dialogue tool that we created, it created a lot of overhead, so I basically had to write the dialogue twice. So now we have a tool where I can just directly write the script and it just pastes it over, and that's it. We made a tool where we had to make like nodes and then connect them. Took forever. Terrible. Not doing that again. All right. Oh yeah, I drew it out here for you. So basically what I wanted to do for the game, because I'm an artist and I was taught, okay, it's important you have repetition and variety. So I wanted to create this ritual of each club. You arrive there at the club, you arrive at the music club, you have a classroom scene, you get introduced to all of the characters, and then you go on a mission. So I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this thing here basically will be the classroom scene. You get introduced, all right, and then you go on the mission and you have to peak and you're done, you down, and you get introduced to the next club. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to be really clever. In the last drama club one, I'm going to mix all of that up. That's where I get the variety in. That's where I surprise the player, right? Where basically you would start the classroom scene, which, like I said, wasn't really great as well. And then, you think you're going to go on this mission, but oh, you don't. You fight a boss right away. Wow, that is surprising. And then afterwards, so because after every club, you were meant to free this spirit. So you use your amulet, you free the spirit, and you try to use your amulet, and oh my God, it doesn't work. Surprising, great. And then from then on, you would right away go to the final boss fight, and then you have the epilogue in the end. Yeah, and like I said, that did not work out at all how I thought it would be. People, I think they were surprised, but not necessarily in a good way. They thought that it was cut short. They felt that a lot was missing because they were expecting these longer phases, and so they thought that here we because we didn't have enough time and money, we cut things. But it was actually the opposite, that we added this bit here. It wasn't meant to be here, but that's not how it felt for people when they played. So I think now, if I were to write this again, I think this twist here is okay, but I think in between the drama club and the finale, I would again just have a longer, more down low section, so people are prepared. Okay, the game is going to end soon, because I think if you just end the game without telling people, I think that feels quite bad. All right, but what went well? Okay, so people did like the side quests. They did them actually. I actually thought in the beginning people were only going to do the main quest. They're going to ignore the side quest. That's it. They're done with the game. But most people did play them, loved them. We had a ton of people 100%ing the game. Yeah, there's some achievement. They're so tedious of just collecting a lot of money, and I don't know why people do that, but they love it. It's a game in itself. Yeah, people did love the characters. So the way I created them was with the vision of having fan art and fan fictions, and for people to envision what it would like sending them on different adventures. And that worked. That was really great. the thing is just that 90% of the fan fictions are in Russian, because for some reason in Russia we really took off. It was a lot of big Russian YouTubers that played it, and so we had a lot of fans there. And I mean, I could only read them by Google translating, so you know, it's not the best, but yeah, some of them were quite funny. People thought the game was funny, which is good, or at least most people did, you know, because I think that's something very, very daunting, where you know, you put something out there, you make yourself so vulnerable, especially for me when this is the first time writing a story and I try to be funny, and it's like, oh, what if people tell me I'm not funny? That's the worst, right? But that was okay. Of course, you're always going to have, you know, some people who it's not their game, they're going to say mean things, but it's okay if that's the minority. Yeah, one reason I think why the game was so popular in Russia was because the Russian translation was amazing. People thought that we are Russian. That's how good it was. And yeah, the Russians, they joined our Discords. Like, it's so many people. We had to make a new channel just for the Russians so they could talk to one another there. And yeah, it was very lovely. That went really well. The Art Quest, which was the hardest one to write because it's a detective mystery. That was actually the player's favorite, and it's my favorite as well. I think making something like that work is really, really difficult, but it worked well. It was, yeah, just how we imagined, you know, up until the end, people weren't sure who done it. And then they do figure it out, they pick the right one, and it feels satisfying. So that was fantastic, and definitely something I think I want to try again for the next game, even though it was super, super difficult, but it was very, very fun. Oh, and that's it. Like I said, yeah, we're Happy Broccoli Games. The game was Kraken Academy. If you want to check it out, kraken-academy.com, and annikamar.de, that's my portfolio and just everything on there. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I guess now it's Anselm's turn.
Okay. Thank you for the nice presentation, Annika. I'm going to share my screen now. Screen 2. Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen. Like a giant king made of stone and a small shade at the bottom. So yeah, I'm the creator of the game The Longing, and similar to Annika, I started out alone, wanted to make the game on my own because making a game just by yourself is so cool. It's not. It didn't work out very well in the beginning. I was studying animation at the Film Academy in Baden-Württemberg at the south of Germany. And in my studies, I started making this game. I only did Flash games before, really short games. For example, one might know this game called Murder I did in 2014, a long time ago. And some of them went quite viral. And I wanted to make, after all those short Flash games, I wanted to make a really, really big game. And I didn't want anyone else to interfere, so I started off alone. And yeah, I got stuck a bit, and then I realized, okay, I need some help with coding. So I applied for German funding, and we got the funding, very small funding. And then the project started, and we had some huge troubles because the game completely exploded, because it's based on time mechanics, what my talk is going to be about. And that was, for once, it was a great unique selling point for us, because not so much games do time-based game mechanics. And also was commercially, like, producing a game with time mechanics is really draining, because you have to test many things much deeper than other games would, with linear storytelling and linear time would need to. So the game completely exploded. We spent all the money on the coding people. And we founded a studio for this game, actually, Studio Seufz, which is the studio we founded, was the first project for us. And it went on for about like 6 years from the start to finish. And we basically wasted all the money on like freelance guys to help us out. And I had to finish the game myself during the last years. And so this was quite the painful experience, but on the other hand, the game went on to be quite successful. So I guess that's okay. So a bit about the game itself. I'm going to start with the basics. I don't know how many of you actually played the game, but for those who haven't, the longing starts off, you are being created by this king. You are the small shade down here. And the king just tells you, I have lost my powers. I need you to guard over me for 400 days until I have restored my power. And I want you to just stay in the caves for 400 days and awaken me once the time has come. And then the game starts basically like this. The clock at the top is counting down 400 days in real time from the start. I started the game, a fresh game, today in the afternoon, so you can see the seconds and minutes ticking down. And that's it. The game doesn't tell you anything more. And you're left basically with the task of, well, how do I spend this time? Is there anything else to do? And then just for information, I'm playing. This game is very slow. As you can see, the character moves very slowly, and this is of course because he has all the time in the world. There's no pressure. Just a bit contrary or similar to what Annika said. I don't like time pressure in games. So this game has really no stress at all. It's an anti-stress game. You can, or an anti-action game, even if you will. You can just walk around this cave for 400 days. You can even turn the game off for 400 days, come back after 400 days, log in and complete your task, which is awakening the king, if you want to do that, because the game keeps running even if you are not actively playing. You can just close the game, and it will, when you start the game, it will calculate how much time you spend offline, and then like jump forward in the game to this point in time. So you don't actually need to play anything. You can just log in once. But of course, what I tried to do with this game was to give the player empathy for the character, the shade, because the shade is all lonely. In this whole cave system, he is the only character, and since he is even there if you're not playing, I wanted to have this really strong sense of loneliness and longing for something else. For the longing to end, basically. And this I think this is the main success of the game, if I can speak so, that this actually worked, apparently. So people were kind of attached to the character, they cared for the character, they wanted the character to be happy. They didn't want the character to sleep like on the floor. They wanted to, before ending the game, normally they would leave the character in his comfy armchair. I think this is the living room of the shade, and I can just place him down here. And there are a lot of activities to encounter in this game and to explore. For example, there's the small bookshelf you have, and you can read books. And those are actually real books. For example, you can just read Thus Spake Zarathustra from Friedrich Nietzsche. And those books are all copyright free. So since the authors are long dead, we just put the plain text into the game, and you can read automatically and just keep the shade reading in his comfy chair. And you will find that for reading, you get a time bonus. So every page you turn gives 1 minute off the counter, which is of course a bit ridiculously low. But this is, and the whole game is kind of I don't want to say parody because that sounds wrong, but the game is influenced or takes huge influence from so-called clicker or idle games. And you might know some of them, like Cookie Clicker or Clicker Heroes. I can show one of them just really quick. This one here is one of my absolute favorites, and you see the difference to the longing right away. It's full of like statistics and stuff you can do and lots of numbers, and the game basically plays itself, and you just like kill monsters automatically. Yeah, super fun. And I really liked, what I liked about those kind of games was, for example, this game I started, I think, around the same time when I started The Longing, and it's still running. It's still running after 8 years, and I have made a lot of progress, even though I never played, which is, it's kind of funny. And you might know other games like Progress Quest. This is a game. This is actually kind of an artsy game. This is an RPG which plays itself. So you have, I'm actually in Act 3 at the moment. I don't know how many months this was running in idle. And I can see how many items I encountered in this time, and selling an Ifrit Cinder, something, okay. So those kind of games were the inspiration. And what I didn't like about those games, though, was that they left me emotionally hollow, because there was no emotional attachment to anything. So I felt the potential of time being used in the game, and time as a mechanic to tell stories was wasted. And so I thought, why not make a game that's taking this time approach to make something really emotional. And the game is partly based on a German legend. Let me just, the shade walks really slow, as you can see. So I have a developer version of the game where I can actually speed up. So don't think this is actually what the game feels like, but this is how I play it sometimes. So this king is based on the German legend of Barbarossa, and you can see this is like an old painting of the legend, and there's a dwarf boy kind of person waiting for the king to awaken, and of course I imagined it in my own style. So yeah, that's also important to mention as part of the inspiration. And yeah, so like I said, the game doesn't give you any tasks except for waiting for 400 days. So what does the player do? How does the player engage with the game? And first of all, you can just, exploration is a big part of the game, but you can just send the character to walk anywhere, and the game will send the character somewhere, and you don't need to do anything. I'm not playing actively right now, just send the character to take a stroll, and there's no need to hurry. So one way of playing the game is just first exploring how it feels to be lonely in this cave, how to be immerse yourself with the cavernous atmosphere. There's actually, of course, music and sound, which are quite important to emphasize the cave atmosphere. So, and let me just fast forward to the first real objective. So the character just walks up to this door, and of course, speaking of time, the most basic thing you can do in the time with time mechanics is roadblocks, basic roadblocks. So in this case, it's a door that hasn't opened in quite some time, so it's being opened, and you can see if you zoom in really deep, you can see the gate is opening, and this takes around 1 minute. So I guess we have to wait 1 minute for the door to open. I can fast forward though. So this is the first roadblock to explain the mechanic to the player, because you don't want to start off with a 2-hour door. That's actually later. So you want to start off with a 1 minute door for the player not to get frustrated in the beginning right away. So designing those time riddles, puzzles, I don't know even if you could call those puzzles, because most of the, like, if it's a basic roadblock, it's basically how the player has to endure a certain waiting, and the question is how you design this waiting period to make it interesting. In this case, it's interesting because it's the first of this kind you encounter, and later you of course have to give it some more spice to make it interesting. For example, I can just jump to a interesting scene. I'm just presenting right from inside the game because I really like to do that. You encounter, like, deep in the game, I'm just like jumping forward really fast. It is really blasphemous to play this way, but there's no other way to present it. And here you can see a cliff, and you can actually see one of the first items in the game. This is a pickaxe, a mattock down here. And as you can see, a small drop from here, and you can see some greenish things on these rocks, and you have the jump command. And you can try to jump, but there is moss growing down there, so the shade decides to wait and until some moss has grown, so we can jump up the loft to land on a soft pad of moss. And he says it would take about 2 weeks. So in this case, it's kind of a bit different than the door, because you see an objective that you can reach and that you really want to reach, because there's a lot of places that you need the mattock for, and you get an estimate of 2 weeks, which is of course really long. But in this case it works because it makes the other side with the crystals also to look very tempting. And I can cheat a bit and jump forward in time to so you can see the moss growing really slowly. That's a bit too slow, so I guess this is enough. So I just, of course, like I said, this is a blasphemous way to play the game. The real way to play it, of course, would be to actually wait 2 weeks, or to find other activities to do in the cave. And I really wanted to create a game that you cannot play in one sitting. Like I found out you actually can, as I found out, like Annika said, players will find out everything and they will use every exploit they can to destroy the game. But for most players, I think this is the approach that's feasible. And you can actually pick up and collect this moss, which is a really bad idea because now you have to wait another 2 weeks to jump down here again. But a lot of players did that. So another example of a waiting mechanism would be something like this. So somewhere in the cave, you find these carvings in the stone, and they look like a really crude map of the kingdom, and you can investigate. And the shade says, oh, it would take some time to decipher this. And normally players would probably walk away now and leave it as is. But the players this game was made for will realize that the camera is moving really slowly and something is changing really, really slowly. Like, you really have to pay attention, but you probably can see it by now. The camera is zooming out, and I'm again speeding up this process so not to waste your time too much. So this actually happens. So this takes about, I don't know, 10 minutes to zoom out completely. And so you can see the cave in all its glory. You can see the king down here where we started. And this is actually kind of the middle. There's a lot of stuff that's in the dark that you have to find out later in the game as goes much further up. And this is, you can, for example, you can remember locations and you can just take a screenshot here, and now you have this map saved. And I don't know if I explained that before, but you can, since the shade is walking so slowly, and this is an idle game, I had to find a way to design movement and to not to annoy the player too much. And you can actually send the shade home at any point in time, and he will just go and take a walk, or you can still send to a random place. And whoops. You can use this, of course, to prevent the. This is a very small screenshot, but it's actually important for another riddle in the game to understand where in this cave you have to like dig with a mattock to get forward. So another example of a time-based moment in this game would be something like this. This is one of the prime examples I always used for showing. It's very similar to the moss, but sometimes something graphical variation can also be helpful to make an emotional impact. For example, this is something that's probably even more something that's even more ridiculous than the moss is like this drop of water falling into this rather empty pit. And if you try to climb the other side, you will see that's not possible because the shade is really small. And the shade gives us a estimation of about a month for this pit to fill. So this is something that, of course, also balancing question. How much time do you give the player for each of those tasks? 2 weeks, a month, 2 months? With the game that lasts 400 days, you could get rather ridiculous. I decided to keep most things rather low to not scare off players too much. Not sure if that was right, but most of the things I did with gut feeling, and because was not really any reference point for me with this game. And I'm going to show something new still. So when thinking about time, the things I presented so far were basically about where to wait. Where do you wait for something to happen? Do you wait in a spot that looks kind of suspicious, like the map room, or where you get a estimation, like for the moss and for the pit? And of course, the player would actually have to remember those places to go back there later. And of course, with this system of waypoints, that's pretty feasible to do. And this is a place that's hard to find in the game. It's called the Halls of Eternity. And reading this inscription says, "Only a fool tries to reach the end of eternity." And as I learned, this is a really bad way to prevent players from trying to reach the end of eternity, because if the players read "Only a fool," they somehow think the game wants them to do that. I did not know this, but okay. And in those halls, the time is standing still completely, because they're the halls of eternity, and they're actually endless. So you can just send the shade to walk, and basically you could now turn off, like stop playing and just watch this for centuries. And a lot of Twitch streamers actually lasted for quite a bit until they gave up, because there's no end to eternity, as they found out painfully. But this is of course also a way to design something that's based on time, with because of course if you do a game that's based on old lore and on time, you have to have eternity somewhere. And it's actually you can find items in this place, which makes it interesting. You can find, for example, here it's a piece of paper and other things that you can only find in this particular place. So enough of that. Let's show something more peculiar. So I'm going to, sadly, I really have to spoil a lot of stuff. So I'm sorry beforehand if someone wanted to play the game and now it's completely spoiled, but that's the only way to show how cool this game is. So this is actually kind of a very important point in the game, where you go all the way up to the end of the cave and you find that the cave ends in a complete roadblock, because you cannot advance here. There's too many stones. And you can see the upper outside world, and there's a day and night cycle. So let me just show it to you by cheating a bit. So I can just go, let the hours tick down, and normally of course this would mean waiting. And sometimes you can see, and this is quite mean, but sometimes you can see people walking on the outside world at certain points, like about like during daytime, of course, not during nighttime. You can see someone walking on the outside world like every 2 hours, I guess, every 1 hour. So if you wait here really long and watch the screen, this is very good as a second screen game, of course. So you can do something else, and then you hear the footsteps and you can turn your head. And oh, damn it, I missed it. Let me see if I can turn back time. So, damn it. Oh, now I got him. Okay, so there's this old man with a bucket, and as we can deduct from him handling a bucket, there's another way to get up to the outside world, which is a well. And let's just speed really fast to the well. Okay, so this is, we were too late. I think the bucket already went up. But this is a well, a hidden well, where people from the outside world, of course, need to get their water. And so they use this well to send down the bucket. And if we wait here, and as we have investigated someone is coming, we can actually catch the bucket and jump into the bucket. And then, of course, we are failing the main task of the game, which is waiting in the cave for 400 days. So this is actually an alternate ending. There are a lot of endings in this game, and this is one of them, where you escape the cave and you're the task that was given to you by the king by escaping. And of course, this is much, or rather faster than waiting for 400 days. Not as fast as I played. You need about like 1 month, 2 weeks, depends on how insane you are, how much you play. But I designed it so it would take around like basically 1-2 months to be at this place. And then you have to decide, do you want to abandon the kingdom? Do you want to be selfish and escape from your loneliness? And then there are, of course, different endings for that. And another part of this puzzle is that you actually, if you just wait down at the well, you cannot see who is coming. So, oh, there was a moonwalk. And waiting here is actually obligatory to see who is coming to the well, because there are 2 characters. One is the old man you just saw, and the other is a troll, a young troll character. And if you get into the bucket of the troll, you will have a very bad ending. So it's also important to wait at this place and then advance to the well really fast. I'm not sure how much time I have, because this is a really flexible presentation. Should we go to the questions?
Yeah, we have maybe half an hour more at most, so it's up to you to maybe think about what you want to do. Okay,
I will just maybe do 5 more minutes and then questions, or does that sound okay?
I think it's a good idea. Yes.
Okay.
Let's have 10 questions.
Yeah. Something about Amaze, by the way. This game was presented, like Thorsten said, at Amaze 2019. And my colleague Benedict dragged me there because I did not know anything about game festivals, and I'm not a person who normally goes to festivals. So I was really lucky to be there and even winning this prize. So I can definitely recommend going to Amaze. And we also met our publisher there. I guess he was also fond of the game because we won the prize at Amaze, but that turned out to be a really good collaboration because, as I said in the beginning, I was really burnt out after so many years working on this game, and the publisher was really helpful in giving me motivation to finish it. So what can I present at the end? Something fun. Okay, let's show one more thing. I hope you can see it. It's really dark, but there's another mattock down here, and as a clever player will see that this pillar is kind of cracked here, and there's no way down except for like no easy way down except for standing somewhere, and you can see this spot in here which looks suspicious. And so if you wait here, you already start, if there would be sound, you would start to hear sounds from cracking of the pillar. And if you stand here for, I think it was 5 minutes, the pillar will crack down and you can reach the mattock. So another of those puzzles where it's important to wait at a specific position and know and deduct where the game may want you to wait. So as a waiting game, I think this is best described. Of course, with time you can do a lot of great things to like Zelda did with Majora's Mask, or other games did, time twisting games and so on. But I really think, and that's what was one of my motivations, that time is not really explored in games as much as it could be, because if you think about it, time is the only thing that is really unique to games compared to other art forms. You cannot make a 400-day film. You could, but people probably wouldn't watch it. But you can make a 400-day game like The Longing and have it being played by hundred thousands of people. And so for me, it was really optimistic to see this approach of the game being taken seriously and debated by players, and actually being played by players, except this is of course quite the artsy game. And so my resume of the whole experience is, if you have a really crazy idea and you are able to keep through because of friends and people helping you out, you can really try to do it and make the original idea that you wanted come true and have it be enjoyed by people. It's not impossible. And yes, having this having made this game, I can say again, don't try to do it all alone. The game was made primarily alone, but it doesn't have to be, and there's not much advantage of doing it all yourself, besides doing something painfully for years. So if you planned on doing something like this, try at least to have a budget, because we did not have any, and try to get people to cooperate, like if you meet them at a maze, for example. So the pillar is still not broken. It takes 5 minutes, I guess. So I still have to talk. Yeah. So
yeah.
Another thing I can share about the game is that community-wise, of course, like with Annika, a lot of people explored the game very deeply, and something that was, it's impossible to hide something so that people will not find it. Someone will always be crazy enough to walk to the end of eternity and back, and so I can only emphasize that it's cool to make, especially today in days of the internet, to have games that really take some more extreme approaches like it was in the past. And indie games stand out with unique ideas and not with content, because content is what the big guys do. AAA games, they can do so much content for like every genre of games that indie games can never achieve. So I think it's best to focus on ideas and not on content if you're a small team and want to make something that you like yourself want to play. Yeah, so I think I'm finished. Oh,
yo!
I just jumped forward. Okay, so with this falling down, and I can stop my presentation and open up for questions.
Thank you very much, Ansel, and thank you very much to Annika. Before we start with the questions, because there are some, I just want to have one question, because the funny thing is that you had quite different experiences in time of development. So Ansel, would you say that your game, when you would have had less time, so in development, would it be still strong as it is? And for Annika, would you have, if you would have more time, would it be completely different or more humorous and more enjoyable?
So if I had less time, the game just wouldn't be finished, because it's not like we had some scalable content. It was more like, okay, the game is still not finished because we're still finding horrible bugs because someone played differently on day 37 in the game. And so if I would have less time, and I would have known from the beginning that I had less time, I think I just would have not be able to finish the project. And for a game like this, that's really without much references to other games, it was just too hard to calculate. So the miscalculation was kind of, I guess, part of the process. Yeah.
But was it good for you that you were working alone? I mean, you were saying, yeah, it would be cool to have a team from the beginning, maybe, but I think it's also was important for you to go through the process alone. Otherwise, maybe it wouldn't be like that as it is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Since this was my first big game, I learned of course a lot, and I think I wouldn't have been able to communicate the ideas that I had to a team in the beginning, because I still was very unsure about many things. And yeah, looking back, it would have been difficult to get a team, or there were of course people helping me out, but to get a constant team like for the whole development process, which was so long. So yes, of course, it's part of the experience, and looking back, it worked out in the end. I didn't go insane, and but I can only recommend other people at least try more to be open to collaboration.
Thank you. And Annika, for you, how was the development process, and also the time question?
Yeah, we took 2 years in total. And okay, I think if we had 1 or 2 more months, I think that would have made, like I said, the last bit of the game a bit better, potentially, a bit more side quests and this and that. But I feel like if I had, let's say, another year or two, I think, I don't know, maybe then potentially the game would have been worse also, because I think the more you have, the more you overthink then, and then you keep changing things, and then it becomes quite muddled. So I'm happy with the time that we took. We calculated pretty well. Like I said, we were just missing, a couple months. That was fine, which is something, we're going to calculate in for the next game. So when we think this is how long it's going to take, just add an extra 2 months, just, to get the writing perfect.
Thank you. I have one last question, especially when we talk about publishers, because when I started making a maze, actually having a publisher doesn't mean that you're not really indie. You're not independent game developer at this time around 2010, 11. How is it now for you, coming with a super experimental project? Also, Kraken Academy is, I think, from the storytelling and everything is also experimental. And how do you approach a publisher? Would it be good to go earlier to a publisher, or is it good how you did it, that you went at this time when you went, or like Ansum, you won an award and suddenly you met the publisher? Because he thinks as well that the game is great, more people have to play it.
Yeah, so the publisher approached me, so I was not trying to get a publisher. I really wanted to do a hardcore indie way and publish ourselves, and that would have been not so good, because the publisher was really helpful. I can only recommend at least. It was a very trustworthy publisher. It was a really old school and still small publisher. I think it would have been good to have a publisher from the start, but then again, I think if we would not have been, like with an experimental game, you have to prove a concept, and doing that without having anything to show for, and not any at least this award was something that an achievement that you could point to, and I think that was probably very important for the game, looking back, to show it to the publisher and or for the publisher to think that the game might be successful.
Thank you.
I think for us, so actually at first we had Coffee Stain as an investor before we found our publisher, and I think that played a big role when someone else already, approved of you. And we got Coffee Stain's investment based on the prototype that I've made, actually. So it was, very, very rough. There wasn't much to do, but that already happened to be enough to prove to them this is going to work out. And then for Fellow Traveler, so we did not know about them, but they visited Saftladen in Berlin, which is this co-working space. And someone there actually told them about our game, just a friend of ours, like, oh, I know someone who's making a narrative game, and they connected us. So that was fantastic. And I think the one big plus that they have is that they don't meddle with your game at all. They let you stick to your vision, and they might have some questions of why you're doing things the way you are, but then ultimately they leave you alone. They let you make the game however you want to, and they trust you, which I think is great.
They also had complete creative freedom with our game, so this kind of bad publisher image is probably true for many, but in my case it was very untrue because the publisher did not want any changes that I would not have wanted myself.
It's good to know for all the people who are going to do experimental games in the future as well as you do. I see that there are some questions coming in. One is coming from YouTube for Annika. Did the Chinese translator fix the translation in the end?
The answer is not really. We of course had a talk with them, but it was a bit difficult because they wouldn't admit that they've done anything wrong, and they would say it's because of the game and not because of the translation, and it was a bit muddled. And our compromise was that I sent them specific strings that I thought were crucial, and then they fixed those. But in the end, that might have been maybe 20-30 sentences, and I think the whole game basically needed to be redone. They didn't want to offer that to us, so yeah. And in the future, we look for someone else, or we might not do a language that we can't check ourselves.
Question to Anselm. Considering to the pure length of the game, how did you decide if something is too long or too short for the player to wait?
Yeah, actually, I made a build of the game every Christmas for the Christmas holidays. And it's really important to me to play. If you want to play your own game, play it not at work, but play it at a different setting, like at home or at my family's place. So every Christmas, I think so many Christmases, I brought the game to my family over the Christmas holidays, and then I played it there. And those Christmas holidays, like, last 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks I tried to, because with family sometimes it's a bit boring, and during this time I tried to get into the mindset of a player, not a designer, and do things intuitively, where I thought, okay, this feels too long now, and so that was my approach. But basically it was gut feeling. I did not have any mathematical equations or something like that. It was just what I felt was too long myself.
Thank you. There's a question from Duro. I think it's for both of you. In your opinion, what's the ideal time frame for making indie games? And what should be ideal size of team?
I think time frame for an indie game, 5 years, because it takes longer than you think anyway, so you can just do it for very long. And if you think about your life, if you do a game every 5 years, you can still do about 10 games, maybe, if you live long enough. So that's enough. Who wants to do more than 10 games? Who even did more than 10 games? So I think 5 years is because we're always miscalculating time in game production. 5 years for everything, for porting, for everything is I think for me is a good point. And team size, well, 1 for every department, basically.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, I think that depends on the person, right? But for me personally, I would say like 3-4 years would be ideal. Because like Anselm said, it's like I want to make a certain amount of games before I die, right? And so I can't spend 10 years on one. For me, 3-4 years is good to also, not get super tired of one project, because I think by the end, you're like, oh God, I really want to have this done. I want to get onto the next thing. At least that's how I work. For team size, I think I personally would feel comfortable in a team up to around 5 to 7. I think I love the sizes we have now, where we're 3 people, and it's very chill. It's very fun when we work together. It's a great environment, and you can keep track of everything. So you don't grow too big where you end up just being a manager. I would absolutely hate that. So I want to stay small, that's for sure. But there's still some things that I feel that are missing, like a second artist, which, art for our game is such a bottleneck. And especially with the next project we're doing now, which is something way bigger in scope. And I can feel this pressure coming in where I'm like, oh God, can we get this finished? And so an extra artist would be very, very valuable.
So finished means to also have enough budget for the time of development, right? So that means, or you ask for more money when it comes, whatever, after 3 years of development, you think, oh my God, I really need another 3 years. Now I have to get some more money to actually finish the game. Is this something what a publisher will do? Or?
I mean, it depends on the publisher and on the project, right? And also, well, I don't think they would, or I think it's unlikely for them to give you money for another 3 years if you've taken 3 years already and you thought you were going to be finished then. But I think if you tell them you need another couple more months, maybe half the year, and it's going well and they like it, I think they would. I mean, it's not something that we felt we had to do. But I think that's also because we felt more of the pressure of having to stick to a deadline. Like I said before, I think now I would have actually just asked for another 2 months. But I think there was just this pride of wanting to be on time and wanting to stick to the deadlines. And we did hit all of our deadlines, which is, doesn't happen that often. But yeah, like I said, I think that was too prideful.
Who did tell you that the game is finished? Was
did.
The team? You did. Okay.
Yeah, we as a team, we said, okay, we want
now
these things in. Yeah, okay. Now it's done. Let's go.
In my case, it was I thought the game was finished many years before it was finished. So I thought I finished the game, and then the publisher said, "Oh, we did testing and we found this horrible bug," and stuff like that. So the game was not finished until months after release. Yeah, and then it was not very spectacular. It was not like, hey, the game is finally finished. I mean, even after release, the game is not finished because, of course, you have to fix this. And we also did one update of the game with content that I did not quite finish for the release. So a game is, of course, never finished until you say so. And in my case, it was just a feeling of not wanting to do anything anymore. And the publisher like saying, okay, now you're free to go because it's not broken anymore.
I have 3 more questions. One question is very, very long. It's from Andre from Maricic. Maybe you can ask the question yourself because it's a lot to read. I don't know if you can be, if you're allowed to switch on your mic.
Of course, it's not a problem. So basically, I wanted to say thank you to both Annika and Anselm for an in-depth view into your games. And I was sort of wondering how much of the process of game creation did you have pre-planned, and how much of it was sort of artistic and improvised? And if you can pinpoint exactly what was which. Thank you.
Should I start? How much was pre-planned? Well, half of it maybe, because I think it's actually very bad to pre-plan the whole production if it's an indie game, because indie games live off from charm, and sometimes when you play your own game you think, this would be so cool to have something in this place, and then you just have to do it. For example, this map riddle in the game where you stand at this map and it zooms out, it was not planned. I just thought, hey, I have a camera and I have time, and after I did this, at the beginning it just was supposed to be the graphic carvings in the stone to be the map. Then I thought, hey, I could just zoom out the camera really slow, and it was just an idea that came instantly. And of course, if you have an idea that you think is cool and you're making an indie game, you should do it, because that would separate indie games from commercial games that are planned 100% without any changes, because it would kill the time frame and the budget, because I didn't have a budget anyways. I was just living off basically contract work I did on the side. Yeah, I just wanted to put everything in, and so I would say half of it was planned.
For me, yeah, a lot of things changed, a lot of big things as well. For example, now you have one school, 4 clubs. It used to be actually that there were no clubs and there were 2 schools that would fight with one another. The title changed. It used to be called School Wars, which is a terrible title. Yeah, we decided to change it. I did not know what the ending was going to be, I think about half a year in. But yeah, what I did know was that, I wanted to have these 3 main quest lines, and, I knew, like I said, each of them has some different flavor, and things like, the spy mission and that. I knew roughly, okay, I want this to be in, and I would say 90% of the characters, they were already there. That's a lot that I did in my free time while I was still illustrating. That was the thing I enjoyed the most, and I already, had a lot of the sprites, which was really helpful then when we started making the game. And I already have all of this, so I don't have to sit there for 2 months just painting these sprites.
Thank you. We have now 9 o'clock, 1 minute after 9. Do we have some more time? So because there are 3 more questions.
Yeah, I think it would be fine to answer them. Well, everybody's still here, so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. There's a question from Edina. Maybe Edina, you want to ask the question yourself? Otherwise, I can read it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I was just wondering if Anselm played the game after he finally made it, and if he did the full 400 days, or if he used his development hacks. That was just kind of interesting to me.
Actually, I did not, because the game was not finished. Like the game that the player plays, I played the game over 400 days because production was longer than that. But the final game that is now on Steam, I did not play that for 400 days because after production, if the game was finished, I just did not want to play it anymore. So, yeah.
You have another question as well. It's for Annika, right?
Yeah, it was. Thank you. I was just going to ask Annika if she replayed her games many times, and if she just role-played as a different character every time she was playing it, or if it was just like a one-time thing.
So, I mean, I playtested the game a lot of times, a lot of times. And I think playtesting is the worst thing, at least for me, game development. That's what really, gives me the burnout feels. So I think after it was done, I play tested again just after, you know, some bugs were fixed, and then not anymore at all. And I'm still waiting, you know, for, because my memory is quite bad, which is great, because I think then in 3-4 years I can play the game again blind and I can laugh at my own jokes. Just that's going to be great. I can't wait to do that. And for different characters, so you can only play as one character actually, but you can, you know, give them different names each time. And I guess I do that, yeah.
Yeah, that's what would be something that I would want to do myself, like in, not maybe in 3 years, but in like 20 years, play the game for real one more time, because then I could actually enjoy it.
There's one question on YouTube. How much testing is for both of you? How much testing you do for, or how much question you do for a game, for your game? And how did you choose what feedback was valuable?
Yeah, a lot of playtesting every time, all the time. It's hard to say, but I mean, playtesting is half of the work, was half of the work for me with this game, because it was so hard to find out if something actually worked, because there are so many different ways, if you have time as a factor, in which the sequencing of things could be so dynamic. So playtesting 30% of the production time or something like that. And of course, the publisher also had some testers, and I had some friends who played, but yeah, playtesting cannot be underestimated. And what was the rest of the question?
The feedback. I mean, you playtest yourself, or you had game testers?
Yeah, with feedback, I think there's a really easy rule. If someone has a feedback and you think, damn it, he found out that this thing doesn't really work. I think I always thought so myself, but now that this person says it, I actually believe it. That's to be important. That's the feedback that then you have, you know, you have to fix it or you have to change something. But if it's feedback like, and you think, no, this person did not understand anything about the game, or then it's, you know, it's bad feedback if you are, as long as you have not maybe some disorder, but if you are a reasonable person, you will understand if the feedback is like if that's something you understand yourself and you felt yourself at least a little bit, then you quickly tumble, because the feedback proves to you that this is actually something not only you feel, but others feel too.
Annika?
Yeah, for us, so we actually went once with a QA studio, and we spent a lot of money. I think it was 800 euros for them to play test the game, and they found 2 bugs. One was a spelling mistake, and I was really, really angry about that. It was terrible. It was not helpful at all whatsoever. And so I think, yeah, we're not going to do that again. So what we did instead was we had some people in the community in our Discord who we let like who were giving us bug reports already just by themselves. You know, they were sending screenshots of like, oh, here the collider's broken, this and that, and I can get through here, which you know, would take me a lot of time just to go around the world, check if all the colliders are correct. And so those are the people who then we gave beta keys to then give us all of the feedback, and that worked way better. Then we actually had dedicated people who care, who want the game to be good, to give really valuable feedback. And yeah, like Anselm said, it's important that it's someone who understands your vision, someone who is the target audience, someone who would actually enjoy the game and, you know, how you envision it. Because obviously if someone tells me, oh, this game needs a gun or whatever, well, I'm not just going to add a gun.
I have one last question, and I think then we're going to wrap up, Rhea, right? So one is for both again.
The music one.
The music one, yeah. How impactful you wanted music to be in your games? And second question is, did you work with composers directly, or you used pre-composed music?
Music. is one of the most important things. And I really planned the music from the beginning, and I had also pre-composed music that I licensed from artists that inspired the game. So there's a small micro genre of ambient music called dungeon synth, which is music which should evoke a feeling of being alone in a dungeon. And of course, this is perfect for this game. So this was one of the main inspirations for me, and I had this one musician that I wanted to work with and license his music, but he was I couldn't find it because this genre is so small. I couldn't track him down. I tried to write people, but he was just a clandestine figure, and so I hired musicians and asked them to make tracks in the vein of those of the musician I could not get hold of. And so there was a lot of planning, and I actually, when the musician was doing the work, I sat next to the musician and I guided the keyboard playing and so on to really have it be the way I wanted it to be. So I was really controlling of the music. I don't know if that's good, but it yielded the results I wanted to, and I was really happy with the result.
For us, so we work together with Sviatoslav Petrov, and he is a guy that I've met actually when I was 18. Before, I was working in games, and then like in Venice we met. It was quite random. And anyway, and later he moved to Berlin, and we met there again. And I told him I work in games, and he's like, "Oh, I work in games too. I'm a composer," and he makes music for anime games. And that's when I said, "Wow, that is perfect. I'm making this crazy anime game. Can you make the music for it?" And yeah, I'm very happy that fate connected us, because he was the perfect person to really understand this hyperness that I wanted in the game. And so that worked really well. I didn't really have to, give him too much direction. After a while, in the beginning it was a bit difficult because, you have to sync up, you have to really be on the same wavelength.
Oops.
Yeah.
Annika, maybe. But thank you very much. I mean, we can wait for Annika. Hopefully she's coming back.
If this was due to her, well, it's probably a battery.
Yeah, it could be
or
the
something
battery.
like this. Yeah. Okay, but
thank you very much to everyone who joined the session. Thank you for having us. Thank you to Anselm, and thank you to Annika. Hopefully she can switch in a couple of minutes again. Yeah, so there's also the soundtrack from Longing coming into the chat. So thank you. See you at Amaze. It would be great to have you there. So we also have everything online. You can jump into the Amaze space, meet the community internationally, and maybe some of you will have as well the chance to come to Berlin. If not this year, then next year, then we do a proper festival, 4 days. Yes, I think it was very exciting. For me, it was very exciting as well to get all this kind of insights I never knew about so much. So it's great always to learn. And I also saw that the participants always stayed the same. So it was definitely very good for you. It was a good lesson for everyone. Thank you so much. And hopefully we see us in Belgrade as well.
Yeah, thank you, Thorsten. I also wanted to point out that we're also going to talk about it with our participants, that anybody who wants to check out Amaze this year are, of course, welcome to do that, and we'll help you guys organize, tickets for them in case somebody is able to come to Berlin. I also wanted to just mention, in relation to what Ansel mentioned, 2 things. So one was like the ideas within the indie games. So, and we have the kind of tagline of the program this year is ideas to games. So when all the participants start working on their projects, they will be referring to some, let's say, socially relatable ideas. This is something that's kind of new for the project in this year. And the other thing is about doing it on your own, which here will definitely not be the case. So we have creative writers, artists, animators, 3D artists, and sound designers. And we'll be making mixed teams that will have the capacity to develop their own concepts. So we are really looking forward to that. And as you said, Thorsten, we will see you in Belgrade in late September, most probably. And hopefully also some more AMAs related artists. And there are some new opportunities to discuss. So we hope to do many more things with you before the end of the program. So thanks to everybody for sticking along for a bit late night event, and see you all very soon.
Annika is back. Yes.
I'm back. So sorry. All right. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.